Welcome to Quick Tech Talk, hosted by Michael Anderson and Daniel Sloan.
Hey folks, and welcome to the Quick Tech Talk. Today we are joined by my co-host Daniel Sloan and Alex representing Visionary. And Alex, I really appreciate you joining and sharing a little bit about the work you guys are doing at Visionary.
Thanks for having me. This is one of the first sessions like this I've done in a while for a few reasons, so excited.
Well, we are excited to have you. So to kind of kick things off, if you could just tell us a little bit about Visionary and what are some of the problems you're trying to solve?
Yeah, there are some fundamentals. I think a lot of what we're building is based on some utilities and universal demands. So the access, we live in an access economy, and on-demand access to who you're seeking in business as a trusted counterparty in a format that works and results in a high degree of success is the problem we're solving. And when you add all that up, it's a few problems bundled together. And if you can solve them all at once, it's super valuable and it's highly disruptive at scale.
Well, that's exciting. When you talk about introductions, I mean, I've been part of, lunch clubs and other kind of introduction things and, technology networking kind of clubs, if you will, to where, they're supposed to connect you with people that have interest in what you're doing. What's so different about what you're doing versus kind of these type of traditional models that we're all used to, going to chamber meetings kind of things?
Yeah, it's, I'm giving kind of a conceptual answer, but we've all experienced different modes of this. And that what I'm getting at is there's a series of steps that if they all line up properly, that's how business gets done. So let's break it down a little bit. One is yourself. Does somebody even know who they're targeting? When you say you're looking for capital or clients, who, why, what's the, and convincingly. Sometimes you and every entrepreneur, including myself, can always use a third party to help you hone your messaging. Is the agenda clear? Is the other person even aware of why you're approaching them for the opportunity? Mm-hmm. Is the meeting in the right environment? Is the follow through done? So all these things, if you have a system that does this systematically and thoughtfully, over the last years, we've perfected analyzing each step. So I guess if that translates into other models often are a quick intro, and we've all grabbed a few business cards at a great conference. One out of maybe 20 is the key one that you want to follow up with, or maybe being introduced. Somebody's made a referral. Some go well, some are a waste of time, or using online platforms. So what marketing like that often happens to be is statistical. That of all the efforts, it's still worth it, but it boils down to one or two that actually lined up properly by happenstance. What Visionary is doing is hand-holding both of the two parties meeting in our network so that there's a very high degree of success to not only get that, what we call a qualified arrange meeting, that you leave that first critical meeting actively wanting to proceed next steps, which is already well above a typical outcome. And then even providing a supported access, what we call business development as a service and investor relations as a service. We're reinventing this role of not being a broker, not being a hired gun, but being more of a network facilitator. And that gives us a lot of maneuverability to post-meeting help to formulate a success.
Exciting.
I love that. It sounds like you're doing a great hybrid approach where you're retaining the human element of building relationships and optimizing it, leveraging technology, right? In our world today, it seems like things can be one or the other, and you're really bridging that gap. So do you see yourselves as a broker or a dealer? And could you kind of walk us through a typical transaction?
Yeah, and a lot of this, to your first comment, because I live and breathe it day in, day out. And I think the purpose of this fireside chat is for yourselves and for those watching to kind of live and breathe how does this really work? And I think it's that visceral feeling, literally, of that is important to business, that, we're high touch. We're taking a human to human model and scaling it when most would never dare to do that. Or if you do, you become an investment bank, basically, and you work late night hours, building relationships and trying to get 4 deals done a year, and that pays the bills and hopefully does so well. So we're basically, we've taken the contrarian approach of sorts to say, wait a second, what if you could build a model at scale where it's still high touch? What do you need to do to keep it high touch, and then deconstruct or reverse engineer all the steps to keep it that way? So it's almost as simple as that, is where the entrepreneurial challenge is, how do you set up one-to-one meetings, what others do as consultants, but basically do it at scale. And it becomes part of the answer is sort of thinking about it like a Ford assembly line. How do you take each step in the process and create a system and use technology and use division of team to make it reproducible and predictable and financially viable? And I guess, what's exciting, and again, the purpose of this is the more you capitalize the network, because it does require a good number of team members and some technology, the more it starts to open up the part of the model of paying it forwards. That, like any network-based business model, a social network, Amazon, a marketplace for that matter, the more you invest into the relationships and the network growth, suddenly you hit that tipping point where you can monetize the relationships nicely. So there's a major tipping point with Visionary's model. And I guess to your latter question, we are a platform, and the spirit and kind of the brand is always a high road of collaboration. There's no reason anyone would not want to access new relationships or help us power your existing relationship capital, which is a whole other point maybe we'll get to. Yeah. So we try to have this no policy. No. I think that's our tagline. So a broker dealer, an investment bank, is actually our best friend to work with a banker to distribute their deals to new relationships. And anyone who says, "Oh, we have enough," I get that, but it's a fallacy to say that. And anyone who originating clients, we can bring them to the best banker and be the hub when somebody's looking for capital. Hey, which bankers do you recommend? Both in of themselves are tremendous business models where we could build a banking model, but we're trying to do something much bigger than that, to build not only that, a distribution and network for capital, but also bring it to business development and ultimately any type of relationship. So those are our partners essentially, and we have some infrastructure to integrate with investment banks in part, amongst other ways we interact with capital.
Okay. I heard you mention monetization, so that got me thinking. How does Visionary make money? You've got your relationships that you're doing with B2B. You're trying to combine businesses. You're trying to get people to connect them with capital. Walk me through how you guys make money.
For sure. And I think to the three prong, to give it context, if you add up how we make money, which is a product market fit and quite disruptive, it's taken years to carefully define the exact way we do that. If you combine that with the technology and then the operational compliance, you have a three-prong defendability and advantage that all intersects. So just to put it into context, we have a 3-layer monetization model in that context of a freemium, but we actually tend not to use the word free, and freemium is just sort of a VC expression for the sake of the presentation. What we're doing is keeping a ledger of value. So those that bring value into the network, and we're more than happy to pay it forwards, we'll give a member the value first, and in due time they'll return that value. People earn access to the network by taking meetings, by making referrals into the network, and like any good loyalty program, the more you spend or transact in network, the more you earn in network value, and then you can use that to redeem for Visionary's access related services or some of our ancillary services, and a growing marketplace of member services. So that's our basic. We're building a currency in that sense that's native to the Visionary network. And soon we'll go on a tangent to talk about what that currency can become, which is part of our upside.
Right.
We then have, where we started the journey was the core concept of what if you create a unit or a product around a qualified arranged meeting with the definition I mentioned earlier, that in layman's terms, when you leave a meeting, the member contractually signs off soon with a click of a button that the meeting was satisfactory and they want to actively proceed with the prospect. We've found that universally about $1,000 per qualified meeting. You can kind of think about it conceptually, $5,000, typically what you pay for an event sponsorship. You can get 5 good qualified meetings out of that predictably, time efficiently. That's the market will certainly pay for that. So we're playing with price point a bit, but for about $1,000 a qualified meeting is how we make money. Increasingly, though, as inventory of the people ready to take meetings is available, thus the financing, and technology enabling automation, the margins basically go to total margin, very, very low cost on that. And then scale basically is a volume model to set up these business dates, if you will, in person or virtually. Beyond first meeting, though, we've interestingly delineated the quota of meetings from the support beyond first meeting. So we basically have a layer of how deep access you want to the network, and then do you want our team's support to run a process basically as business development as a service, IR as a service, which includes the advisory and the next steps for about $3,500 a month plus or minus based on the nature of the assignment. So it looks basically like a $5,000, $7,500 a month engagement, but we typically do start with pilots for about $5,000 just to get those first meetings set up. And of course, there's back-end success fees that are essentially at this stage negotiated. So in lieu of, or so we have a monthly and then a back-end fee if we are carrying the conversations to success with our clients.
I do like how you kind of had the analogy of events, because, looking at a platinum sponsorship for an event that we're doing, that's $15,000. And, any event that you go and you sponsor, you got a booth, and then, you're hoping people run up to the booth, and then you got people running around, and there's a whole lot of planning that you put into that to try to connect with people and do these type of things. But there's really no success metrics as far as if you got lucky and met the people you wanted to at the event. So do you guys do this around events as well? Like, we're going to go to Bitcoin North America. Can you kind of help us not have this throw a dart at a dartboard, if you will, to try to actually meet the people we want to meet and drive them to our booth or to a scheduled meeting?
I think we're seeing part of the big picture here is that how it's delivered is flexible. Those are the tactics. But what people ultimately want is this very visceral kind of quota of how many freaking leads are you going to actually get me? And I can do the math in my mind that if it's 1, okay. If it's 10, okay. So I think the way to think about it is that's why conferences and broker dealers are our best friend, because those are just delivery systems. And we're more than happy in this blockchain backend we're building is to compensate those that originated the relationship in a revenue share, where we become kind of the Facebook ad, if you will, that you buy your quota, and then whether a conference helps to deliver it, whether it's a webinar, whether you happen to be in New York City and somebody we know has already referred, and it gets into the nuances. But yeah, by partnering actively with events, which we do, then it becomes part of the momentum too, that why don't you come and join us at this conference in advance, during, post, we will benchmark a guarantee of say 5 key meetings, which very much transforms the way you think about events as an industry. So we do plan to do a roll up and sort of a layer model on top of events, let alone aggregating them. Yeah, a lot there to talk about how Visionary very much layers on top of the events industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you said that, and how Visionary is working to guide and capture the value of relationships and partnerships. And so it kind of makes me think, as we were preparing for this call, we talked about how you guys are leveraging Future Tech as your technical partner. Daniel, could you provide some insights on what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why we wanted to get involved with Visionary is because they have a proven business model. What they're doing now works, but when you want to do what Alex has been talking about, growing and scaling, the old school model is you throw bodies at it, right? Well, hey, what we're doing is successful. We were doing this great with a 20-person team. Let's add 20 people. Well, if you do if you do something over and over again in the same time in a day, let's just say it's a repeat process that you have to do 2 or 3 times in a day. You can then go in and automate that process through robotic process automation to now free up the human that was doing that. So what we're looking to do is leverage both blockchain technology, robotic process automation, to essentially take the pieces of the business that can be automated, that the software and the platform can handle, and allow the humans to do what they do best, is be creative, build the relationships, and actually work with the customers. Because if you can take somebody that's spending 3 hours a day doing admin type of work or sending messages, doing things that literally don't take brain power, they just need someone to do it and have a software do all that for you. Now that person has 3 or 4 hours that they can be talking to people, connecting, doing things. And so we feel like that's really going to accelerate what Visionary is doing. And then also, again, through tokenizing their business model, Alex has been talking about how the more you kind of pay it forward, the more you put in.
Yeah.
Well, by gamifying this whole process, as much as I like you, Michael, there's a limit to how much time and energy I'm going to spend to send you new customers for your coaching business and things and that, because we're all busy. But if I'm part of a network and I can literally just refer people to this, and then a system can track who it was that ends up connecting with you. And then I can come back later and go, well, hey, I made $10,000 through all the business that I've sent Michael. This is amazing. Old school way was we would have to remember that I referred you somebody, that you made money with them, and then you would have to turn around and say, okay, well, I want to pay you for that.
Yeah.
Versus having an automated process where that all happens automatically. So I think that's kind of the future of all these type of solutions as well.
Maybe just to comment on my take, and I tip my hat to We Are Future Tech. Daniel, Matteo make a great duo as chemistry and the way they communicate. But for those watching this, I think it's an interesting call to action that those that get it, it's sort of self-selecting. I find that in team building and as we try to find capital, we're well on our way to get capitalized. But what we're really looking for is people who intuitively get what we're building. And We Are Future Tech, of all the tech firms we met with, and we do have some others contributing to the project, got the essence here. And the essence is our white paper is total value moving through a network. And many have built marketplaces for different things and networks, but we're building just a white canvas of relationships and the movement of value through that. So yes, this is going to be a very sophisticated technology build, algorithms, data, blockchain wallets, international movements of payment, but it comes back to this unit of a relationship and its lifetime expected value, and how we already have a very viable model currently. And they got that. And I think what we're looking for is partners that get that we have the blank canvas now. And yes, it's going to be a phased roadmap to build some hardcore tech here. But we also have the advantage that we've taken the reverse way of, if you build it, maybe it'll come. No, we built it, and now we're deconstructing how do you build in tech to further make it more efficient. And they clearly got that, and it's almost self-selecting. If an investor sort of stumbles on that, yeah, they're welcome to be part of the network, access, grow, and own with us. But if they don't get that deeply, then it's going to be an uphill road to try to handhold them into what we're trying to build here.
I mean, I think for me, just as kind of a final question, where do you see Visionary a year from now, right? So anytime you're trying to grow and scale your business and you're bringing in capital, which is basically the fuel for the rocket that you're trying to launch into orbit, where are you at a year from now? You've gotten through your fundraise, you've launched your business, we've built the tech, you've got all the tools you need. Where are you 12 months from now?
Appreciate that. And on a little tangent, I opened up, and I'm passionate about the answer, let alone a year from now, of where I want my life personally to be, and many to join in something that we're building together. In that I don't really I've not wanted to be on the speaking circuit. This is not about me. The brand Visionary is a stage. It's about Michael here on the line with us, Daniel, and others. And I'm passionate about that. And I guess my preamble is that it is a very profound vision, and it looks more like a cooperative, which obviously fits a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. So I think that preamble is I'll give you a bit of the tickle of where it goes, and where we'll be on the journey, in 1 year. So I think by planting the flag, and I've been in no rush. I started the business, I built and exited a previous network in 2009. I saw that there was something much more to build. The company was founded in 2012, and through my own entrepreneurial journey, a ton of learning and barriers to entry. Won't even get into it. It seems so easy. Oh, just go set up some meetings, but all the nuances over 10 years in relationship capital built. has been a pleasure to do, and a very, character building, etc. So enough about me. To the point is, I think there is no rush here. A lot of failure, I think, of these ventures is that everyone gets excited, and it gets a bit haughty with squabbling over value, and a lot of opinionated people in the room. So what we're trying to do, which I think is the failure of some crypto projects too, is just that. I think what we're trying to now do is carefully engineer, if this is as big as it fundamentally is by definition, how do we bring in the right people in a fair way to grow the network nice and slow, so the snowball kind of grows and grows, where nobody feels like they're getting too much or too little, and everything kind of naturally falls into place. And I think that's my sort of philosophical answer, because we are in the driver's seat. This is a business model that's growing naturally. It's the barriers to entry are significant. It's very unique the way we're thinking about it. So I think the 1 year, to give the punchline, is we have a business model that people are starting to recognize is destined to be one of the largest marketplaces in the world, and a white paper that is second to none for total net worth, that you simply cannot move more value through a DAO if you don't have the relationships. People are the value. So once we conceptually have, and then it's about critical mass, by getting, people make their decisions based on proxies like who's involved and such. So by getting the right team, including, we are Future Tech and a few name brand additional folks, we haven't revealed who's in, then we basically have that sort of tipping point. So I think it's this interesting window now where those that sort of smell it with us, just by sheer kind of timing, will jump into the seats. And then, ultimately though, then what are we trying to do here? We are trying to build the world's stable currency of medium of exchange, based on the synthetic currency of access, not pegged to an existing commodity. And we are building a marketplace for B2B and then into B2C, that by creating a more fair way that value is earned and transacted, becomes the decentralized organization that a lot of people can opt in for, with a mission of solving climate change and other pressing issues by gathering the fragments, where otherwise, if you don't have a centralized organization to do that, nobody's stepping up to play that centralized curation role, whether in medicine, whether in climate change, whether in diplomacy. And I don't want to, that's where I pause there, and I'll leave it to people that have more credibility than I do to make those kind of statements. I'm simply the instigator, and will take a back seat to let others that have more credibility than I do carry the torch forwards.
Yeah. I love that vision, Alex. And as a connector myself, I'm sold on being able to capture some of the value that I create within my own network. So you talked about some of those key relationships, especially early on as you guys are expanding and scaling this. If I'm somebody listening to this talk, who are some of the people that should really key in and start participating in what you're trying to do, that can really capture that value early on?
Appreciate that. It's a fun business model like that, because this is a party. We're having fun here. What more exciting model to build? And it's not about us again. It's that we're powering great ventures. We're simply the engine room. We're just the system. We're just the utility, which is cool. But it's really about what I'm working on today on my computer screen here, etc. That's what the fun stuff. So to answer your question of who's involved, I think we have defined profiles of, in general, those that are experts and can receive value and receive value. So, to get specific, we are approaching certain investors that can stake the access credit and bring, relationship capital, credibility, or other resources. Blockchain and crypto funds, we're still trying to round out who's involved, and I can mention on another note who is involved. In the impact arena, we're entering our summer of impact. So for those listening, we are, kind of using the moral high ground, Gandhi's moral high ground here, that no matter what goes, what challenges present us, our mission is just, and we will accomplish our mission, and otherwise. But I think on a more technical level, and I'll pass it back to Daniel, is I think what we're also trying to do here is score people, not in a weird way, but in just a real way. That people in a network like this, people have value, and we can start to notate that value. So we're starting to build the algorithm that those are the most prone to work in the network, take meetings, invest. So it's a naturally selecting model that those that become the participants are the ones that we will work with. So I don't know, Daniel, if you want to comment further on the natural scoring we already have and how you guys plan to further institute that.
Well, in my own years of networking and working with people, you get referred to somebody, and the person who refers you, you might have a relationship with, but you don't know the level of work or what they've done with that person, the value. So you're completely and 100% reliant upon the person who you're supposed to be interacting with and doing things with to tell you and sell you on what we're doing from a value standpoint. I think when you now have a network and you're able to score that and able to say, hey, I worked on this project with Michael and this happened and this was the outcome. And all of a sudden you start creating this score through this algorithm that I could come into the network later and have never worked with Michael, but I can see through his score that he's done multiple things with multiple people in the network. You know, as much as we kind of look at Yelp for like reviews, we know that that's flawed, right? Because we know you can do fake reviews and stuff. But if there's 5,000 reviews of a restaurant and you got a 4.8, you probably got a pretty good confidence level that that's a good restaurant to eat at, right? I think in this kind of network and what you're doing, the value is I can immediately come in and figure out through this mechanism who I can work with and who can add value to me, and even what areas that they add value. Like, hey, these people are really good at fundraising, or these people are really good at this. So I think that's something that most networking groups don't have any ability to do, other than, Alex can tell you who are the good people to work with. But if you've got 20,000 people as part of this network, Alex can't tell you all 20,000 people, right? You need the software and the system to help aggregate and pull all that data together that allow you, that's how you grow and scale.
I'll use the metaphor of a stampede because we are deliberately engineering that. So with the tech, when you got 5 invites to refer people to Gmail, or some of these crypto apps give you $100 to refer somebody in, that works. That is proven to work. With Visionary, there's only one person that can refer Joe into the network and get credit. Once Joe's in the network, that becomes part of your downline. So because we're dealing with very elite relationships here, there's about 50,000 people in the world that we know we need to have in the network, and the next million come behind them, and then the next 10 million, and basically then we're done. Everyone else is part of it as well, if you get my drift. So the idea is, with these defined relationships, we are going to start to gamify this and send out the signals that the stampede has begun. And if you don't get Joe, the family office, referred in, inevitably somebody else is. So we're carefully, again, the whole idea is to make this a positive experience and such in the Visionary network where everyone wins. But I think part of the scoring very soon will be to start to send the signals that it's happening, and it's going to happen in a flash in the next 6 months. The whole phase 1 of the game will already be over, and the blockchain will declare who gets remuneration for those that continue to participate in the network.
Excellent. Michael, did you have anything else?
No, Alex, I really appreciate the time and sharing your vision for Visionary and what we can look forward to in the future.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you for streaming this episode of Quick Tech Talk with Michael Anderson and Daniel Sloan.